All right, good evening, everyone. How you guys doing tonight? You are the strong, the ones who came out in this weather, getting prepared for the weather we're about to have coming up tonight. So thank you for coming out. I appreciate it on this cold February evening. And hello to everybody who's watching out there on the stream. For those of you who decide to stay home, you're going to at least get to see what's going on here anyway. My name is Jason Hanley. I'm the Director of Education. And again, thanks for coming out this evening. Before we get started with the program, I just want to tell you a little bit about some of the other upcoming events that we have. This event this evening is part of our Black History Month celebration this year, and man, it's been a great couple weeks. We had the artist Sing Kane here a few weeks ago performing. Last week we had George Clinton of P-Funk and Chuck D of Public Enemy here, so that was a big week. Tonight we've got a great event here with Joe Conzo and Grandmaster Kaz, and we've got another event coming up too on Friday if you get a chance to come back out. It's a film screening of Underground Dance Masters, The Final History of a Forgotten Era, which was a film that was put together by Thomas Guzman Sanchez. But it's part of a larger project that he did, a book, a film. He and his brother were dancers that started dancing in California back in the early 1970s. And his project kind of traces the idea of underground dance and how it eventually leads into breakdancing in forms of urban dance that we see today. So that event is free. There's still space available, and you can go on rockhall.com to RSVP for spots. As you just saw from the video we played, this year the inductions are back here in Cleveland. It's always awesome when we're able to bring the inductions here into town. And we've got a lot of events that are going to be taking place, not just the induction ceremony itself, but there's a lot of things in the week leading up to it. In fact, on Saturday, April 11th, it will be a free day here at the museum. So invite all your friends, come on down and spend the day with us on Saturday, April 11th. There'll also be live music that day. There'll be programs here in the theater. There'll even be a fireworks show we're going to be doing that night once it gets dark out. Also, the following day, on the 12th, on that Sunday, we'll be doing our Rock My Soul, a gospel music celebration honoring Andre Crouch. If you know who Andre Crouch is, you know how awesome a musician, performer, songwriter, producer he was. A gospel great, worked with many, many rock and roll artists, including Michael Jackson. In fact, Andre Crouch is the one who did the arrangement of the vocals on Man in a Mirror, if you know that Michael tune. So it's going to be a great tribute we're doing to him, featuring Marvin Winans, CeCe Winans, Donnie McClurkin, and a couple other artists. A great evening. Those tickets will be free for that show, and the tickets are going to go on sale. You can check out rockhall.com for more information. They go on sale at the beginning of March, but they are free tickets. Also, we're going to have a new inductee exhibit opening on that Saturday, April 11th. We've got a Sonic Sessions program on that Tuesday, April 14th, and for $5.50, you can check out the group Foxygen performing here. And then, of course, the official induction ceremony and a viewing party right here in the museum. The induction ceremonies are sold out, but you can come and enjoy a great party here at the Rock Hall and check it out, featured on large screens around the museum. Also, I just want to say, any members here in the house tonight? Any Rock Hall members? Yeah, a bunch of you. Excellent. Thank you so much to all of you who are members. I should remind everybody that membership is a great benefit for you. You get to be part of a lot of the programming we do, but it also helps to support programs like the one you're here at tonight. Rock Hall members really do help us engage, teach, and inspire. That is the mission of this museum. And it lets us do programs like tonight and educate students. The education department, we've taught over 300,000 students over the last number of years. And every day, including today, the kids were bundled up, but they came here on the school buses to be part. So join us, be a member, help support the great programming we do here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, why we're here tonight? We've had, for a while now, Fresh, Wild, and Fly, and Bold, the photos from Joe Conzo's collection here in the Baker Gallery. Fantastic series of photos looking at the early days of hip-hop. So we're really excited that we're finally able to get Joe Conzo and Grandmaster Kaz here tonight to talk about their work, being in the photos and taking them. I should also mention that tonight, after the event, Grandmaster Kaz has a great book written, The Lyrics of Grandmaster Kaz, and he'll be selling and signing those outside the theater here for $20 afterwards. So stick around after the event if you want to get in and get a copy of that. The last thing I should mention, too, is that this Saturday, we're going to be open early for members. So those of you who are Rock Hall members, you can come in starting at 9 o'clock this Saturday. And we're going to have a lot of great events here just for members this weekend. So now, in order to kick off the event proper and introduce our featured guests, let me introduce Associate Curator Meredith Rutledge, who is actually the curator who helped put the exhibit together that's down in the main exhibit gallery. So let's give a warm welcome to Meredith Rutledge.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I just want to give you a little introduction to our honored guests. Born and raised in the Bronx, Joe Conzo Jr. acquired a passion for photography as a young boy attending the Agnes Russell School on the campus of Columbia University. He continued his formal artistic education at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. During his early development, Joe bore witness to South Bronx community activism and to the world of New York's Puerto Rican music scene. On any given day, he could find himself at the heels of his grandmother, the late Dr. Evelina Lopez Antonetti, engaged in an act of civil disobedience for the educational rights of the minorities in the South Bronx. On another day, he'd find himself clinging to the shirt tail of his father, Joe Conzo Sr., with the giants of Latin music like Tito Puente, Machito, and Ray Barretto. These two vivid realities would have a profound effect on how Joe viewed his environment through the lens of a camera. And the first simultaneous DJ and MC in hip-hop history, Grandmaster Caz was born Curtis Fisher and grew up in the Bronx, where DJ Kool Herc began playing block parties in the early 70s. Caz attended his first Herc party in 1974 and was amazed by the huge, booming sound system and the way Herc worked the crowd. Inspired to try doing the same thing, he immediately purchased some equipment and adopted the DJ name Casanova Fly, which morphed into Grandmaster Caz. After honing his skills, he became the first DJ to rap while handling records on the turntables. He joined the Cold Crush Brothers around 1978, becoming a full-time MC and one of the most important and influential pioneers of old school rap. Now, before I bring out our guests, I'd like to set the scene and give you the chance to see a slice of Joe Conzo and Grandmaster Caz's world in motion. We've got a clip from the 1982 film Wild Style, featuring the Cold Crush Brothers versus the Fantastic Five. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Fantastic and Cold Crush. Oh my God! Boy, I think you might have got that wrong. What? You know how Fantastic be talking about Cold Crush. They're gonna be a serious throwdown. Here they come. See, I told y'all. Here they go. Now y'all believe. Look at that too. That too look too mean.
Well, I'm a T. I'll dog my face. I wanna get you on a quarter beat, Charlie Chase.
Cold Crush.
Charlie Chase, as cute as could be, you sell your soul to the devil to play like me.
Well, I'm the R. Ruby D. And you got a lot of nerve. When you play against me, you know you're gonna get served.
Cold Crush. Shady L, the Lords of Lords and Ruby D, my man, your shit is on the boards.
You all can't ball. You all can't ball. I'm the K. Kevin Kev. And I'm not the fake. You know I eat your ass up like a steak you take.
Cold Crush. You know the all game is legit. And when we get on the court, I'm gonna stick your shit.
The W.
Whip a whip.
And I'm here to say that I can rock your world like the Dr. J.
Cold Crush.
Tony Tone, known to be ill, but everybody know I could deal with the pill. I'm the D.
Gotta rock.
On this here court, I've been 9 years old playing this here sport.
Cold Crush.
AD, as high as degree, I got a better jump shot than Rick Barry. Well, I'm the M.
That's right.
Like all the pretty girls, I serve your monkey ass like Earl the Pearl.
Cold Crush.
Grandmaster Caz or GMC, I'm gonna stick it on the board, man. Can't you see?
We have to come to an agreement who's gonna survive. The Cold Crush 4 or the Fantasy 5. Or when the balls go swish, they always score. But can they do it with the Cold Crush at their door?
Well, I'm Theodore, and I'm dogging my face when I get on the court. Beat Charlie Chase. Well, I'm Charlie Chase. I'm always giving you more. You can't deal with me, Grand Wizard Theodore.
Have your cat, homeboy, what you gonna do? You gotta shoot the shot and do the do.
Well, I'm the original Kevin. I'm on this court. I believe you know that. I'm the king of this sport.
Say shoot, shoot, shoot. A fantastic is the romantic. What? Romantic is the fantastic.
The master Rob, I like to loop-de-loop. I'm gonna take the ball right to the hoop. I shake and bake and then I rock you well, cause I am the man with all the clientele.
Well, I'm Grandmaster Caz, just shoot my shot. I'm guaranteed to give you all the game I got. And if you try to block me, I'll chump your face and just rock you all over the place.
The cold crush, the cold crush.
I'm the one who shot the ball, the creep of the call, get you off the wall. I'm so very glad that you thought you said something. That's why we're winning 18-0.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Conzo Jr. and Grandmaster Kaz.
Thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
What can I say?
Well, you said it all right there.
Before we get started, let me acknowledge one of the members of the Fantastic Five from that clip we just saw is in the audience with us, my brother Prince Whip-a-Whip. All right.
Fantastic. Cool. Okay, let's get started with the photos.
Okay.
Who's that chubby guy?
Who is that?
That's me. That is Joe Conzo Jr. As you can see, I picked up a camera at an early age. I describe it as my chubby Angela Davis afro-wearing time. And I like to put this out there on live stream right now that I created the selfie. So Instagram and Facebook,
They owe you some money.
But I was fortunate enough to pick up a camera at an early age. I wasn't a athletic kid, you know. I wasn't like Kaz and the rest of the guys with you know, MC skills or turntable skills. So the camera was good for me. It was an icebreaker. My mom saw how much I love photography and let me build a darkroom in the bathroom. So this is actually a shot in my bathroom in the darkroom that I had. The neighborhood, the South Bronx. We're known, besides, you know, all the crazy stuff, we're known for Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is in the South Bronx. And this is Yankee Stadium number 2. Because we have 3 versions. So this is the second one. This shot was like, I think 78, 79, from the top of my building looking out towards the
So this is from the view from your
Yes,
home?
yes.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Our playground. As we all know, the South Bronx was known for its devastation, its urban decay, its drugs, its gangs, and this, that, and the other. But this was our home, right, Kaz?
Yeah, pretty much.
This was our home, and we were just the poster child of urban decay during the 70s and 80s. I mean, literally, Hollywood would come to the Bronx and make films because the Bronx reminded Hollywood of, you know, bombed out Berlin. You know, that's how devastated it was. But as a kid growing up in the South Bronx, we made the best of what we had. You know, so you can't miss much that you never had. So, you know, this was our playground.
Right. And you said that the community was really close and...
Oh, yeah, it was a different time. I mean, family unity was really strong back then. The youth respected the elders, so to speak. You know, you didn't talk back to any adults back then because it got back to your mother and father, and you would be dealt with.
Yeah, it was more of a village, you know what I mean, situation. You lived in a neighborhood, everybody knew everybody knew everybody's kids and that kind of thing. So even though, you know, you look at it, the despair and everything that was going on at the time, we still kept that close-knit, you know what I mean, family unit, despite all of that.
Charlotte Street. Charlotte Street was the poster for, again, urban decay in the South Bronx. This shot I took in, I think, 79, 80, when President Reagan came to run for president again. And we had demonstrated. The people of the Bronx had demonstrated, and we had put up that big 3-story Puerto Rican flag there. And this is just so symbolic of the area at the time. You know, even with all the urban decay, you know, we still had our voice. Our voice was out there. Our voice was saying enough is enough. You know what I mean? So any visiting politicians, you know, who wanted to use us as a background, you know, we wanted to be heard.
Absolutely.
Again, this is a daily happening in my neighborhood. Daily happening. Fires all the time. I'm not sure why the landlords at the time, you know, burnt down the buildings to collect the insurance. And, you know, some people describe that as the biggest crime of the century, you know, the burning of the South Bronx, because nobody was really held accountable for that.
Exactly. What happened was during the mid-60s, New York City went bankrupt. So the city was bankrupt, corrupt, and every other rupt you could think of pretty much. All our municipalities were corrupted, police force, the welfare system was totally frauded. So the system that pretty much paid the majority of our rents was frauded out, and rents weren't getting paid. The landlords who owned the tenement buildings that we lived in, because of the economic, you know, thing in the city, they moved out. They sold our buildings to slumlords. And the difference between a slumlord and a landlord is a landlord maintains a building, and the slumlord just collects rent from it. And what happened is that these rents weren't getting paid, so they resorted to hiring gang members and different people to burn down these buildings and collect the rent, collect the insurance on the building, and then just cut out, I'm sorry, and, you know, go about their buildings. So the conditions that existed back then, you know, are because of the economics leaving the city and everybody just packing up and leaving.
And it's funny because I have a large body of fires and everything like that. I ended up working for the New York City Fire Department for 22 years. So
That's right.
Maybe that.
So you were doing research.
Exactly, as a kid. Again, you know, this is a neighborhood kid, friend of ours, Boo Boo. You know, the streets were our playground. The streets were our playground. You know, there was no internet at the time, this, that, and the other, and we had no problem in taking our skateboard or, you know, just making the best of it.
Making the best of it.
Making the best of it.
Yeah, that was our pool right there.
Yeah.
You open up the fire hydrant in the summertime and streets get flooded with water, and then it's a water world. You know what I mean?
Again, you know, I just love the camera. Again, was a big, you know, breakthrough for this chubby little kid with a big afro. So, you know, I got to speak to many girls, and I ended up marrying one of them. So, this is one of the pictures.
A girl.
just a girl.
I said I'm marrying one of them. No, this is my icebreaker with girls was graffiti. Back in the days when I was in school, I was outgoing with the guys, but a little shy with the girls. So my icebreaker, I would write graffiti. A new girl would come in class.
He's fishing in the sewer for coins. And we used to do that. We used to take string, anchor a little weight with some gum, and fish out the quarters from the grates, the subway grates and the sewers and stuff like that.
Huh.
Any way you could get some candy money.
That's right. That's right. Again, music came out of the Bronx. This is one of the street fairs that went on, and back then you could, you know, do these events with no permits, no nothing. And this is actually a shot of the Mean Machine. Mean Machine were a group of kids from the South Bronx, one-hit wonder, who had Disco Dreams.
Disco Dream on Sugar Hill Records.
Sugar Hill Records, and this is on 3rd Avenue on 49th Street. And it was just a great time, And, you know, for a kid like me walking around with a kid on 49th Street. And it was just a great time, And, you know, for a kid like me walking around with a camera, it was even better.
So these kind of street festivals would happen sometimes spontaneously?
Spontaneously, planned, but it would happen everywhere, all over the neighborhood. and roller skates, a cipher with a roller skate jam, and it was just a fun time. It was a fun time. People would get together, all races, and just get together, and music just brings everybody together. And I was fortunate enough to, have a camera and document this. This is one of my most famous, iconic pictures. I just love, here you have two little kids dancing in the park they're actually dancing to Tito Puente's music, okay? And this was shot, in the Bronx, in the Grand Concourse, in Joyce Kilmer Park on 161st Street. And again, Tito Puente, one of the biggest Latin music, in history, would come to a park and jam for free.
Yeah.
For free. And you just don't see that too often today. You just don't see it.
Your dad was his biographer?
My dad was his confidant, producer, pretty much everything, for Tito Puente. They knew each other for up until Tito passed in, I think, 2000. Did everything. They traveled the world together. My dad produced some records for him. So when I wasn't taking pictures of Kaz and the rest of the hip-hop pioneers, I was hanging on my dad's shirt tail, taking pictures of Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, and Hector Lavoe and all that. And this is actually one of the shots of Tito, who, again, was just a giant all over the world. Didn't walk around with any bodyguards, no entourage, would spend
Still lived in the neighborhood?
Still lived in the neighborhood, would come back to the neighborhood, sign anybody's autograph, and, played an influence on hip-hop, I'll tell you that much. Not too many people know that in 1979, when the Sugar Hill Gang put out their first album, with Rapper's Delight, Morris Levy invited Tito Puente to do a guest track on it. And if you find the album, the Sugar Hill Gang's album, it'll show special appearance by Tito Puente. How cool is that?
That's amazing.
How freaking cool is that?
Amazing.
Yeah. Again, the youth, the B-boys, posing, I could walk around back then and take pictures of any and everything without any problems. Today, it's not as easy to walk around the neighborhood and take shots because people want to know, what are you going to do with the pictures? Is it going to be on social media sites, this, that, and the other?
I got a warrant.
Yeah, I got a warrant. Don't show my face. And it's a different time. It's a different time. I remember distinctly a friend of mine, wanting, a fellow photographer, Francisco Reyes, who's my mentor. He found an open hydrant with some kids playing and wanted to take pictures and was literally chased down the block by the parents because they thought he was going to do, pedophile type thing.
Oh,
it's
sure.
like, wait a minute, this is, the scenery, so it's a different time today. But back then, you could walk around anywhere and take pictures. Okay, the humble beginnings of hip hop. This is a shot of DJ Kool Herc and DJ Tony Tone. Tony Tone and I went to school together in South Bronx High School.
Okay.
And it was Tony and his partner, Kaz's partner, Easy AD, that I went to school with. And I was invited by them, I was a school photographer, invited by them to see them perform at the T Connection.
Okay.
So as the story goes, Kool Herc was, one of the biggest things going on at that time, and Kaz can elaborate on that. And this is one of the earliest shots of Kool Herc. Aren't too many pictures of him back then, but he allowed me to take this shot, and he doesn't like the picture too much because his tongue is sticking out. But
They keep sending that picture out over and over. That's the one he hates the most.
Yeah,
and every time you see a picture of Herc, is that picture.
That picture.
Yeah.
But it's an iconic picture because it shows Herc, in his element, sheepskin, lead denim jacket over the sheepskin, Tony, the fedora hat, and he just massive looking Jamaican DJ who was just an urban legend at that time.
Yeah.
And
Kaz, talk a little bit about what made that legend. What was it about DJ Kool Herc that made him so dominant?
Well, back on August 11th, 1973, a party took place in the Bronx that changed the way we party forever, and that was his party. okay? And the party didn't have hip-hop aspirations. It was a simple going back to school party at the end of the summer for Kool Herc's sister, Cindy. And they held it in the rec room inside their building, or a community room. The place holds about 100, maybe 125 people, but it was packed to the gills. And the entire, well, the first school of hip-hop, the first 4 elements of hip-hop were pretty much prevalent in that party. You got a DJ, hip-hop, the first hip-hop DJ, okay? You had an MC, which was Coke Rock. You had the first B-boys. Prior to the Rocksteady crew and New York City Breakers and Dynamic Rockers, you had guys like, you know, myself and guys a little older than me that were breaking, that were the B-boys. So he is recognized by everybody as the father of hip-hop. I got my cue from Kool Herc. Me living not too far from him, you know, didn't hurt either. But even if you ask the trinity of the first hip-hop DJs, which is, of course, Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash. Flash and Bambaataa look up to that guy. They got it from him. Okay?
Thank you.
Again, my schoolmate, my great friend, Tony Tone, and a young DJ Red Alert. I think he was about 17, 18 years old.
Yeah, about that.
This was at the Bronx River Zulu Nation anniversary party. Again, I'm rolling with the Cold Crush Brothers. They're performing at the anniversary. And I was just part of the Cold Crush Brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's Joe. Leave him alone. I'm shooting for the Cold Crush and shooting everybody else that interacts with them. And it was just a great, great time. So, you know, to see Tony Tone spinning, you know, with, you know, turntables, you know, headphones from the hearing test booth that we stole from school, you know what I mean? And, you know, a DJ Red Alert looking on was just a phenomenal time.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah. Okay. This, believe it or not, is my high school prom, 1980, South Bronx High School. And this is an iconic shot because, well, before I get into that, I mean, here's the Cold Crush Brothers performing at my high school prom, 1980, South Bronx High School. They were invited to perform. So that was just great. You know, AD and I, you know, picture there with KG, we both went to South Bronx High School. But this just shows, you know, the fashion and the versatility of 4 of the greatest MCs sharing 2 mics. You know what I mean? 2 of the greatest DJs standing behind them. You know, besides the fashion and versatility, this picture was actually used in the movie CB4 with Chris Rock. So imagine my surprise. I'm sitting in a movie theater one day, okay? And this is the opening scene of the movie. And I'm like, oh, blank, blank,
There's like
blank.
a wall of photos that they show. And the first photo is that photo right there.
No credit, no compensation, no nothing. But it didn't matter back then. You know, it was just to see that. So, Kaz, you got anything to say about this? I mean...
Well, like you said, I mean, that was your graduation. South Bronx High School, Joe went there. 2 of our members went there, Easy AD and Tony Tone. So we were regulars at South Bronx, and it helped to kind of bring Joe into the fold. It was just natural.
And this is our gymnasium.
School together.
Our gymnasium.
That was the gym.
Yeah. So it was a great time, and I love this picture. I really do.
And you could tell it was cold as hell because we all still got our coats on inside the
Cleveland
gymnasium.
weather going on. Kaz, I'll let you talk about this one. Go ahead.
You talking about iconic. This is iconic. They talk about gangsters in hip hop. This is the first gangster shot in hip hop. Traditional gangsters, all right, not gangsters, gangsters. This was our battle between us and the Fantastic Five at Harlem World, July 3rd, 1981. And the night, it wasn't just about the night because the night was built over an amount of time. We had a rivalry with the Fantastic Five, and, you know, we always went back and forth and this and that, and it just all led up to this night and this event. And the photo itself has lived over and over and over. It had many lives. It's been on T-shirts and bags and this and that. But the importance of the night was that this was really the beginning of our kind of reign in hip-hop, because we lost the battle that night to the Fantastic Five, who did a superb job. But then after that, we started picking up momentum, and then from then on, it was like the Cold Crush. But that was a good thing and one of the worst nights of our lives at the same time. Okay.
And just to piggyback on what Cass says, you know, this battle, the Cold Crush were known for their costumes, okay, smoke machines on the stage. It's just a whole theatrical
Yeah. It wasn't just about getting on stage and talking about the other guy, okay? It was about bringing an entire presentation and bringing a show to the stage, and both of us did that. We came this way, Fantastic came in tuxedos, and, you know, that was showmanship back in the days, and you rarely see that today in hip-hop. You rarely see groups, for that matter. So we were kind of like the first and last generation of hip-hop groups.
So yeah, that's a photo of them, the gangster look, with the toy guns, and it was a good night.
Why you had to say it was toys?
Cass, your brothers. Talk about your
The
brothers.
Treacherous Three MCs and DJ Easy Lee. They were kind of our compatriots in hip-hop, as opposed to the Fantastic Five, who were some of like our brothers, but we had the most fiercest rivalry with. These guys were more allies, you know what I mean? They were from Manhattan, Harlem, pretty much, and pretty much everywhere we played, we invited them too. So there's a lot of photographs of us together with the Treacherous Three MCs, and them in return invited us to play in the places where they used to do. We did their boat ride, Norman Thomas boat ride with the Treacherous Three as well. So they are kindred spirits with us in this hip-hop game, and one of the groups who were lucky enough to be photographed by Joe in those early days.
And through my relationship with the Cold Crush brothers, I got to meet the Treacherous Three, the Fantastic, Kool Herc, and all these guys. And eventually I was asked to do photo shoots with them. So this is a photo shoot I did with the Treacherous Three, where I lived at. We broke into some basement and something like that, and we took pictures. And Mo D used these pictures on some of the early Treacherous Three albums. So good time, good friends. We're all still good friends today and stuff. And
You used to use your photography as a sort of pre-internet marketing tool. You know, you take a picture of a party, and then the next week.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, again, no internet. I wasn't, you know, my pictures weren't ending up in the newspapers or magazines, but what I would do is, like, go to my darkroom, print up 20, 30, 50 8x10 images for the next Cold Crush party. And with the Cold Crush, they had the vision to see, you know, far ahead. They used to throw out my images to the crowds. So that was just phenomenal. You know, we also had a gentleman named Tape Master who recorded every jam. So, you know, you could buy a cassette for $5 and hear last week's jam. You can look at a Joe Conzo photograph from last week's jam.
Yeah.
And go home after seeing them perform, you know, with an 8x10 photo and a cassette.
And
Marketing.
also, the early flyers didn't have photos on them. They just had our names, and some of them had artwork after a while. But when Joe started taking photos, we had images, and people started taking those images and putting images on flyers. And that's how we got recognized. You know, you knew our name, you heard of us, but you didn't know what we looked like unless you saw us in person. That all changed when Joe started taking our photographs.
So I guess we started the internet also.
That's
so,
right.
Waiting on our checks. You know? Again, Treacherous Three, you know, the compadres of the Cold Crush brothers. This is Norman Thomas High School, where we would perform. Again, you know, the early days of hip-hop, there was no club scenes. It was high school gymnasiums, church rectories, social clubs, you know, in the basement, the boys' clubs and stuff like that. So, and gymnasiums. And again, Cold Crush would invite them to come, and, you know, if they were lucky enough, they would get on the mic. Vinyl, crates of vinyl, you know, crates after crates of vinyl records. No MP3s, no nothing. This is how the DJs, you know, worked back then. And that's one of my posters rolled up there. And, you know, you would have Kumo D, who would tell you today that I'm the only photographer that photographed him without his glasses.
Without his trademark shades.
You know,
Okay.
and weighing 110 pounds. LA Sunshine and Special K. And it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
Is that
Look
AD
like they're
kissing a
having
girl
Yep,
right
that's
there?
AD kissing a girl in the
In the
background.
back? Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Blackmail. Too late now.
Another one of my iconic images. This is of a b-boy in Roseland. Hip hop had went downtown. Roseland is a club down in Manhattan that holds what, 3,000 people?
Yeah, at least.
And Cold Crush had performed there and had gone there. And this is an early cipher of the b-boys doing their thing. And I gotta be honest with you, this shot was a mistake. It was a mistake because my flash did not go off. So I got the silhouette of the b-boy. And some of my most iconic shots were mistakes. That's the beauty of photography.
Happy mistakes.
Happy mistakes, you know. And back then, it wasn't, you know, it was film photography. So I didn't know that this mistake happened until I got home to develop the role. So I have a whole series where the flash went off, nice pictures, but this is just so, I don't know, mesmerizing, so to speak.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Kaz, you do this.
This is this is another one of Joe's shots of Mo D without glasses on. This is him and myself at Harlem World. I believe that's 1980, during the time when the Harlem World Christmas Rappers Convention was going on. Mo D and I are
Considered.
Are considered two of the greatest MCs. When they talk about people in greatness, they talk about them in trios. So like the first trio of great MCs, myself, Grandmaster Melly Mel, and Cool Mo D. And so we have like this kind of kinship between each other. We've always had a mutual respect for each other's skills. So you'll see a lot of photos of us together like that.
And again, this is a great shot because not only does it capture two of the greatest MCs to ever pick up a mic, but the fashion back then, leather bombers, you know what I mean? The
name belts.
The hat
name belts.
is incredible.
The hats.
Beautiful hat.
The Sergio Valente jeans, you know what I mean? So it was a good time. It was a good time. Again, Roseland Ballroom, 3,000 people. I mean, I guess every rock and roll person here in the museum probably performed at Roseland Ballroom at one time or another because it's been around so long. But hip-hop went downtown. Hip-hop went downtown, and this is one of the clubs that it went down to. And you would get 1,000 people to come see the Cold Crush, the Fearless Four, Run DMC, you know, in those groups. And a cipher would break out. A cipher would break out where the B-boys would you know, jump in the middle and show them what they can do. The fashion, the Adidas, the Lee jeans. We couldn't afford the Levi's back then, so it was Lee jeans.
Right?
You know, and it was just, you know, the tube socks,
Yeah.
the skimpy shorts.
Talk about what was the impetus that brought hip hop from the South Bronx down into Manhattan and around the world?
Well, pretty much the time that hip-hop was gaining a little bit of notoriety, the punk rock movement was going on downtown. And it was the same energy, you know, came from it. You know, punk rock was like the rebellion to the rock and roll that was going on at the time. Hip-hop was the rebellion to disco. So we had that kind of same mindset, and that's kind of attracted our energies to each other. Bambaataa, Africa Bambaataa, actually was the first person to really take it to those punk rock clubs down in Midtown. And then the movie Wild Style came out in '82. Deborah Harry from the group Blondie was, you know, had something to do with the movie. Her husband, Chris Stein, produced the soundtrack. So there was a link between that downtown and us. And then we started taking hip hop and b-boys and stuff downtown to the Roxy and all of those things. And that's what you see. That was the result. This is one of
Pre-internet.
one of my early flyers. Like I said, early flyers didn't have any photos on them. They just had the words and images. And a lot of times, they didn't even have the year on them. I had the foresight, okay, to put the year on the flyer that time. And that's myself when I was Casanova Fly and my partner DJ Disco Wiz and Mighty Mike. This is our early crew. And we were called the Mighty Force Crew. And there was a club called the Blue Lagoon that I had got a Jamaican guy to let us come in there and play and do parties at. And that became my spot, all right? So that's, yeah, that's from 78, summer.
And you put this flyer together yourself?
Yeah. Flyers were handwritten at first. And the way that we got them done is, you remember the big Rexograph machine in school? Yeah, and when you run off copies, it's a big wheel, you got to do that. Well, we did that, and the ink stunk so bad. But that's the first way we did flyers. Then, we found printing places and stuff like that. We got these little letters, and then it just evolved from there. So I started making my own flyers, and that's just an early example of one of them.
So for $2, you can go to a place like the Blue Lagoon and listen to Kaz and Disco Wiz and, Pambada.
And let me point that out too. It says Cool Kev and Pambada, A1 DJs. So Pambada was like one of the first female DJs to get on the turntable. Now, she didn't keep doing it, but we taught her how to play. And even Pambada met her and blessed her and said, okay, you could call yourself Pambada. So that's just evidence of her being here. Okay.
Her existence.
This next one is an early one as well. Doesn't have a date on it, a year on it, but I believe this was like 77. This was a battle at a club called 462 that I used to play in on Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. And when I would play there myself, I would have to play for adults. So I would play old school R&B or disco music, and then when I would get a night for myself, I would do stuff like this. So this was one of my first battles, myself and my man Disco Wiz against DJ Troy and Heimrock. We bust their ass.
Okay, I believe it. I believe it.
And this is another flyer, probably around 78 as well. Casanova Fly, Disco Wiz, Mighty Mike, Pambada. There it is. All right.
You see, they made a mistake on the date, June 7th, Friday, and crossed it out Saturday.
Yeah. Right, there you go.
The audience.
This is one of my favorite picks, man.
The audience. Again, a school gymnasium, $2 to get in. This was our playground to do the performance, and it would be packed. Not in this picture, but I have other images where there's guys hanging in the rafters on the basketball hoops, and it was just, this was all for the Cold Crush. All for the Cold Crush.
And years later, you look at these photos and you start finding people in the audience. I mean, later on in life, this guy right here, he's the weed man in the neighborhood right now. So, had I known back then.
He's got that look. He definitely has that look.
Next. Bronx River Projects. Can you go back
They
one?
skip one now.
Bronx River Projects, Zulu Nation anniversary. Again, hanging with the Cold Crush, I got to meet some of the pioneers, some of the bricklayers, some of the foundations of the culture of hip hop. And this is Chief Rocker, Busy B. How would you describe him?
Those of you not familiar may not be familiar with Busy B. Busy B is the bridge from the disco MC to the hip hop MC. He is hip hop's first crowd rocker. Call and response is always something that's been prevalent in DJing and music and parties and entertainment period. But Busy mastered it as far as hip hop is concerned. There's guys who came before him that did things like that with DJ Hollywood and stuff like that. But they were, like I said, club or disco DJs. Busy Bee brought that flavor to the parks and to the streets. And every party started out with Busy Bee back in the day.
The tools of the trade. Tools of the trade. You know, Charlie Chase's hands, you know, spinning vinyl. I'm not sure where this was. This might have been at the Dixie Club.
No, I doubt it.
No.
It looks like the grill.
The Grills probably.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was all about vinyl. It was all about vinyl back then.
That was the radio station that back in the day, Kiss 98.7 Kiss FM. You notice how primitive the turntables are as opposed to 1200s, which is a standard for DJs nowadays. Turntables evolved as well. You know what I mean? In the early days of hip hop, we played on wooden turntables. You know what I mean? With fishing line hanging, with a weight hanging on the back of it. We had to put nickels and quarters on the turntable, on the needle to keep it on and stuff like that. So the technology that DJs use today, I mean, make it practically easy for anybody to DJ. But this was the fun time when we were just making it up as we go along.
Again, I can't honestly say that I had the foresight, but I would always get the Cold Crush brothers together, and we would do photo shoots. And some of these pictures have become so iconic 30, 40 years later. You know, again, no cell phones, no internet, this, that, and the other. It was just calling everybody's house. Let's get together one day, and we'd meet up. And we met up across the street from my grandmother's organization, United Bronx Parents, and we'd spend a day taking group shots. So we'd use a bike as a prop, and, you know,
There's 5 of us on a bike right there.
so it was fun. It was fun, and it was a good time. Go ahead, Cass.
Now this is in the same place where the weed guy was. This is the Boys Club, Madison Avenue Boys Club, Hoe Avenue Boys Club. I'm sorry, on 174th Street in the Bronx. And this is just a perfect example of a Cold Crush party. Okay, the Boys Club was a place where if you wanted to see somebody specific, that's where you went. And we had a lock on the Boys Club because of Easy AD. He was a member there, was a part of the basketball team, so we held a lot of our anniversaries there, and that was just one of them. That place, I don't know how many people it held, but it couldn't hold another person. Okay, and every time we played there, that's how it was.
And just, you know, the crowd, blacks, Puerto Ricans, young, old, you know, male, female, it was just a good time. Whip, you see yourself there? I was fortunate enough to be invited to some of the rehearsals for the movie Wild Styles, and this is one of the rehearsals. This is, you know, I think a day or two before the actual filming, but it was a rehearsal. And this is the Cold Crush and the Fantastic, you know, doing their rehearsals. And you see a young Whip and a Charlie Chase there and a Tony Tone and teenagers. We were teenagers.
That's a park that we used to play basketball in on 183rd Street in the Bronx. And once this guy, Charlie Ahern, came around talking about doing a movie about hip-hop, well, we took him straight to the places where we hung out. And so pretty much the venues that you see in the movie Wild Style were the actual places where we did that. So that's 115 Park. And that was a lot of years and a lot of pounds ago.
This is from the actual filming of the movie Wild Styles. Again, I was fortunate enough to be invited and shoot it. If you guys ever watch the movie Wild Styles, there's a scene when the Cold Crush is performing, and you'll see a flash going off in the background. That's me taking pictures, and you'll see me standing up on the bar there taking pictures. And, you know, besides black and white, I did shoot some color and stuff. And this is the Cold Crush performing at the Dixie Club in the Bronx. And great time. Right, Cass?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Wild Style put us in a venue that we never thought that we'd be in as far as performing hip hop is concerned. And when people started to take the kind of interest that, you know, to come and actually film this and put out a film, then we knew that we were doing something right and something that would kind of endure somewhat. And yeah, even to this day, I mean, we still get checks for Wild Style. Every year at the end of the year, like $6, $7.
It adds up.
It's still a check.
It's still a check. He still remains. He keeps us in mind.
This is where I put down the camera around this time, dealing with some personal demons. But this is also where I feel the culture of hip hop changed. It kind of went commercial. And this is a few shots that I have of Run DMC performing. You know, God bless them, God bless their contribution to the culture and stuff. But I feel that it just went commercial right after this. And, you know, they're great friends of ours, great friends of mine. But this is where, if you have my book, Born in the Bronx, this is where I ended in the book. And
they're kind of the cutoff point between the first school of hip hop and the next. Okay, the Run DMC era ushered in a whole new era in hip hop, or the next generation in hip hop. A few of us stuck around a little bit, you know what I mean? But for the most part, it was a new set of guys coming in when Run DMC appeared on the scene.
my logo, Born in the Bronx, as you can see, I'm very proud of where I'm from. I still live in the Bronx. I still work in the Bronx. He has a tattoo. I have a tattoo. I'm proud. I'm proud of the Bronx. The Bronx has made great strides. You know, we're not dealing with housing crisis anymore, or burnt out buildings, or education problems, this, that, and the other. You know, maybe another panel, we're dealing with gentrification, but that's okay. The Bronx has come a long way. I'm proud of it. I'm a proud product of the Bronx, and I think we turned out pretty well.
I think so. I think so. I mean, life, like everything, is a roller coaster, you know what I mean? But luckily and hopefully you land up the way a roller coaster does, in its original position. You know what I mean? You may go through some loops and turns and twists, but we landed on our feet.
Yeah.
Real quickly, this is the book that I put out with the help of Kaz and Bambaataa, Johan Kugelberg, who I was introduced to by Grandmaster Kaz. Phenomenal person. He edited the book. You know, when I first met him, he was like, you know, your images need to be in a book, they need to be in an exhibition, and this, that, and the other. I was like, yeah, you're going to buy an image. And, you know, he did more than that. He did more than that, and everything he said has come to fruition. So this book came out in 2007. Because of this book, I've been to Bulgaria, Japan, London, I mean, you name it, all over the world, and I'm grateful for that. You know, again, a chubby little kid from the South Bronx. I never in my wildest dreams imagined traveling the world, let alone being here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for an exhibition. It's like, it's very emotional, really, really emotional.
Talk a little bit about Cornell.
Recently, 2 years ago, because of Johan Kugelberg, you know, we had an exhibition called Born in the Bronx that traveled pretty much over the world, all over the world, and he deposited that in Cornell University. I was approached by Cornell to deposit my negatives. So right now, I have over 10,000 images deposited at Cornell University. Everything is digitized, so you can go to Cornell Hip Hop Collection right now and do as much research on Latin music, hip hop, Urban Decay, and you know, I am so grateful for Cornell. Recently, Kaz.
I as well gave some of my archives to Cornell University, so all of my rhyme books, Cornell University has, you know, right now they're, you know, transcribing them, you know, and everything, and you know, documents and photos and all that different stuff. I mean, we're trying to preserve our culture and our place in it. A lot of times when a culture goes commercial, the culture part is forgotten, and then they only document it from the time it went commercially. So a lot of people get lost in the sauce, so to speak. Hip-hop is only 42 years old, and the people who started it and originated it, pioneers of it, are still here. But it's important for us to document our own history and not leave it up to somebody who comes afterwards, because the more you tell a story, the more it gets distorted, the more it gets away from its original source. So I want my story to come from me.
And, you know, it's just like, again, Cornell's doing phenomenal things. Crazy Legs from the Rocksteady just donated his stuff too.
Charlie Ahern, Bill Adler. So they have the
Bambaataa.
largest collection of hip-hop
First
memorabilia
generation.
and collectibles than
And, you know,
anyone in the country.
what I tell people is that my images sit on the same shelf as the Gettysburg Address. How freaking cool is that, you know? It's amazing.
Part of American culture.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Important part of American culture. Okay. Absolutely, absolutely. So, if anybody has any questions.
We have microphones too.
Oh yeah, let's wait for a microphone because we are streaming.
Microphone check.
Stand up.
Hi, I have 2 quick questions. First is, what do you guys think of, you know, hip-hop as it progressed in hip-hop today? Not so much in how it's become commercial, but more about the actual content, the actual sort of culture of it, and how that's changed, how it's remained the same, how it's being expressed differently, maybe because of how it's become commercial. And also, like, what you would say to people that are trying to, you know, do that now to some degree, you know, people that are sort of like, because they're at a low level, are sort of doing it the same way, like performing in high school gyms, you know, trying to make it to a high level, but still rapping and trying to carry on the same tradition.
All right, well, as far as your first question, how I feel about hip-hop today is the same way I felt about it back when it was starting, except this is not the hip-hop that was going on back when I started. So I kind of refer and revert. We kind of revert to each other. You see, I'm hanging with Whip, all right, from the Wildstown movie. We still, you know, hip-hop today is not the same. The culture itself doesn't change, but the components in it and the generations who exercise it do. So there's a different conversation in hip-hop today. A lot of it has to do with that missing generation after the crack generation. Okay? A lot of the values and the things that we grew up with, that generation doesn't have. So they're going to have a different our culture continues through whoever it continues to. It's a great thing for us, as long as you know, don't abuse it. You know what I mean? Try to preserve the culture. You know, you can add to it, but keep everything that's supposed to be, because hip hop is not just rap music. Okay, it's DJs, MCs, b-boys, and b-girls, and graffiti,
Santina.
or the now politically correct aerosol artist. Okay. Oh, the second question, I'm sorry, was
like, what would you say to people that
that are exercising it on a grassroots level? Hip-hop has gone back to that level. And because of the new technology, we have the internet, we have everything. We can promote ourselves. We can put our own music out there. We don't have to get signed by a label. We don't have to go, you guys don't have to go the traditional route that we went to get involved in the music business. Just surround yourself with it.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name Derek Washington, and you know, I know that you really is an inspiration to me, and you know, Doc, he like one of your biggest fans.
All right.
And
like
he me or Cass?
Cass, you too though. And,
I just messed with you.
Yeah, but like he MC and he an inspiration to me too, and I think y'all got a lot of stuff in common because I'm a hip hop artist too. And my question was not now, but like after, maybe can I like show you some of our work?
Yeah, sure. You can show me some of your work.
All right, thank you.
Send it to me, whatever. Give it to, no problem.
All right, thanks.
Okay? Yeah, no problem. Right here.
Hi, this is for Joe. Actually, for both of you, because you've both donated your material, your photos, and to Cornell. So what is it that Cornell will offer you? You still own the material?
I still, listen, I just turned 52 years old, okay?
Still a baby.
I'm still a baby, but I know, working as a paramedic in the South Bronx for 22 years, life can end like this, okay? So I see that. I amassed so much pictures and negatives and stuff that it was sitting in my living room, literally. God forbid there would have been a fire or a flood, this, that, and the other. All of that, all of my history would have been lost. So Cornell had the foresight to say, Joe, listen, let us hold your stuff. I retain ownership for the next 50 years. And if I'm around for the next 50 years, God bless, I'll be 102. If I'm not, my family will reap some of the benefits. But in those next 50 years, you know, we'll digitize all 10,000 of your images. We'll give you a copy of all the files. We'll put them on a website so schools and educators and researchers can research your images, okay? And it's being shared. There's not a week that goes by that I don't get an email from some scholar or some researcher talking about my images that they saw on the Cornell website. And that to me is so wonderful.
But you still have the freedom to do the exhibitions
Yes.
that you want to.
Yes.
Good.
And the exhibition that's going on right now here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum is my prints on loan from Cornell here with my blessing. So, you know, and they wrote me the biggest check I ever had in my life too, so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This gentleman here?
What's up, fellas? I just want to say much respect.
Peace.
Cash, you the best, man. As a fellow MC, I respect you as an MC. I just want to know what's your favorite rhyme you ever wrote?
Wow.
Yvette.
Thousands. I know who other people's favorite rhymes are. I don't know. There's just so many. But maybe I'll do one for you before it's over.
Please
All
do.
right, there you go.
Please do. Please do.
Here she go.
Uh-oh.
I actually have a question, but I also have a question somebody just sent in from New York, too.
Oh, wow.
I was hoping we could ask. My question is...
Stand up, please.
Sorry. I was wondering if you could dig into a little bit about the magic of the Cold Crush. So the whole group, like solo versus ensemble aspect of your performing and writing, there's the solo rhymes, there's the group rhymes, and it's like magical. How did that all come together when you guys were writing? How did that come together when you guys were rehearsing to perform? Can you dig into how that worked in terms of the artistic process?
Sure. Basically, I'm the head lyricist for the group, so I write most of our material, but I write, you know, for myself as well. Even though I'm part of a group dynamic, I'm never, you know, just rested as a solo MC. And I think that that's important for everybody in a group to be the best as they can be as a solo artist. I just tried to spread what I had inside me throughout my entire group. So a lot of our influences will come from each other and from competitors, from competition. We don't copy anybody, but if there's something you didn't do, we gonna do that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. My early musical influence come from WABC radio in the 70s. So we listened to all kind of music growing up. So when hip hop came along and it came decide to come up with a melody for a routine, I reached to Simon and Garfunkel. I reached to Neil Diamond. I reached to Arlo Guthrie, you know what I mean? And everybody couldn't understand that. They were doing TV commercials and stuff like that. But that's what really aided myself, my writing, and the style of the Cold Crush. Also, group of MCs, we feed off of each other. So if let's say Whippoorwhip says a rhyme, I know his rhyme by heart. I'm always hearing him say it. So when he says it, I'm going to say it with him. Or I'm going to be his hype man. I'm going to embellish it. You get 3 more people doing the same thing. Now you got a routine off of just one person's rhyme. Okay? And that's how really that togetherness and that unity, because we're bouncing off and feeding off of each other. That's where the magic happens.
I have a follow-up before I ask the next question, not to bombard the mic. So some of those, were, like the hooks, were they written collaboratively, or did you write them, or?
Like I said, I write 90% of our material, so more than likely I wrote it. Or somebody gave me an idea for a, you know, we might have been in practice and somebody just started saying a melody or whistling a tune. I'll be like, wait, hold up, I got that, and then I'll take that and I'll write a whole song behind it. So
I'm just gonna read the question. Christy Z would love for Grandmaster Kaz to explain what's the difference between the disco DJs and the hip hop DJs. Can you dig in? What really distinguishes that?
Well, traditionally, disco DJs, they play music, a certain kind of music, and they play it a certain way. Okay, hip-hop DJs play sections of records, where disco DJs play the entire record in its entirety, and they blend them together at the end. Disco DJs don't scratch records, they don't, you know, do tricks or anything like that, all right? So there's a definitive difference between DJs that existed before hip-hop and a hip-hop DJ, okay? I know exactly where Christy's coming from. There's a big contingency of people coming out after hip-hop is being celebrated for being around for 40 years. You got people coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, well, I was a DJ before hip-hop. I was doing that before Kool Herc. You probably were, but you wasn't playing the records he was playing. You wasn't playing the way he was playing, okay? Nobody was MCing, okay, in the hip-hop tradition. So it's an entire difference. You know, I was quoted from The Art of Rap by saying hip-hop didn't invent anything. Hip-hop reinvented everything. Okay? So disco and that club kind of DJing was an entity in itself, and then we reinvented it.
Any other questions?
Got real quiet.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because all that knowledge is coming out.
Yep. Down here.
You're awake. I saw you nodding.
It's been a long time. I saw the film, I Want My Name Back, which was like...
Mind-blowing.
Yes. It was
Mind-blowing.
like when you just talk about, you know, the commercialism of hip-hop and how, you know, the type of things that people do or that was done, you know, in that film was just like unbelievable. So there were so many things that I didn't know, you know, prior to watching that film, including, you know, that the whole Big Bank Hank and stealing your rhyme and all of that. So I just wanted to know, did you guys ever make amends before he passed? And
well, no.
What's your relationship like with Sugar Hill? Do you still perform?
I don't have
with them
any relationship with the label itself, its management, or any of them. Wonder Mike and Master G.
Who we tried to get here tonight.
Yeah, I tried because Master G's out here in Cleveland. I was trying to get him to come through. We're cool. We're steadfast friends. Just real quick, I mean, I think the world knows, but apparently people still want to know about it.
Tell that story.
Big Bang Hank of the Sugar Hill, may he rest in peace, was just plain Hank Jackson. He was a doorman at a hip-hop club in the Bronx. And we used to go to the club when we weren't performing. We got cool. Me and Hank got cool. And I asked him to help manage the group that I had at the time, the group that was on those flyers you guys saw. Well, Hank agreed to manage us, and the first thing he did as our manager was take out a loan from his parents, $2,000. And we used that money to fortify our sound system. In order to pay back the loan, he got a job in a pizza shop in New Jersey, Crispy Crust Pizza, and that's where Joey Robinson, Sylvia Robinson's son, was out auditioning people for this group that Sylvia wanted to put together. They approached Hank because he was in the pizza shop lip-syncing to a cassette tape that I had lent him to take to work with him. So he's in there lip-syncing my rhymes, and somebody says, hey, why don't you come outside to the car and do that for Joey and them? And he went out to the car. Instead of telling them, I don't rap, I manage one of the best MCs in the Bronx. He never said that. He just went straight to the car, repeated the stuff that was on the tape, they loved it, and they made him part of the Sugar Hill gang. Exactly. I mean, he was down with me, so I'm like, go ahead, use my rhyme. I mean, go ahead, here's a book. You know what I mean? Just say this, and say that. I don't know who them other guys are. They ain't gonna sound good as you. Okay? And he came back with the record done, and I heard it, and I thought it sucked. I didn't like it, you know, because it was way behind the styles of what rap was at the time. But I said, Hank, it's cool. And when the record came out, and Hank took off. The Sugar Hill Gang took off. They were in the stratosphere. These guys were on tour for, 3 years, all right? And all the magazines, they was on Soul Train and American Bandstand and all that. Hank never looked back. He never looked back. He kept it moving. I was never credited as a writer on Rapper's Delight, and I never received a dime from Rapper's Delight. And we are talking millions over this last 35 years. Okay? You know what kind of hall we would have been in if I had my money? No, just funny. No, but basically, I mean, that's it. And we never did get to mend fences or anything like that. I saw Hank twice after after Rapper's Delight came out. So in this last 35 years, I've seen Hank twice. Okay, one time was in a club downtown, myself, Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, and an event. And the next time at a Crotona Park event in the Bronx, where Joe Conzo took our photo, which is really the only photo.
Them together?
There's one that I took from downtown, but you can't get that. But it's the only known photo of Hank and I together. Now, when I found out that Hank had passed, because Wonder Mike had kept me abreast of his health. He was like, yo, Hank ain't doing too good. You know, he's got cancer. He's this and that. So it was like, they kind of knew he was going to pass. When he did, Mike called me and let me know. So I took the only photo of me and Hank, put it on Facebook with a big, you know, rest in peace, the Big Bang Hank, you know, this and that, such and such. Thousands of people responded, oh, Kaz, you're the bigger man, you know, this and that, such and such, you got, you know, hope, you know. I went to his funeral. I went to his funeral. Sat through the funeral and everything. Now, you know how they make the little program for the funeral? I got a copy of the program, and it's like 4 pages, and the last couple of pages are images, photos. The picture that I put on Facebook of me and Hank was in the program, but my face was blurred out.
Oh, not cut out. Not cut out.
Not cut out. It was me and him standing there, but there's a blur over my entire body.
My photograph.
Okay, so did I make peace with it? A long time ago. Did him and his people make peace with it? Apparently not. Okay? And I'm not the one who was wrong, who did anything wrong. Okay? So for you to blur my picture, our picture,
my face,
that nobody got permission to use in the first place and blur me out, that was a total, you know what I mean, disrespect. And I don't think Hank would have wanted it like that. You know, that was just his people. So no, we never came together. We never, you know, made peace. I made peace.
Oh. Yep.
Yep, and you got to stand up.
It's coming.
What's up? My name is Patrick.
Peace, Patrick.
Oh, thanks. And you were talking about, like, in the beginning, the early days of hip-hop, it was just for fun. And now you look at it now, and you look at where you are, and, like, you know, Grandmaster Cass, you're considered one of, like, the fathers of MCing. Do you feel, like, overwhelmed and, like, whoa, this is, you know, you never really expected it? Or
No, I'm not overwhelmed at all. I can't say that I had the foresight to know what proportions this culture would grow to, or even in a business sense. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It just validates all we've been doing. When we did it for nothing, it just validates it. What you was doing was worth something. The world appreciates it. So, yeah.
Meredith, there's a question back here.
Oh, okay.
Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your successes. I think we've all touched on a few different things that like the commercialism of film and how it's changed, and how you see the new age of hip hop. But I think it's Marshall McLuhan that said the medium is the message, and the medium has changed a lot since you guys started before. I guess both of you, how has it changed in photography, and from the perspective from a lens, and how has it changed with respect to what hip hop used to be and what it is now, based on what people have as tools today to create? Whereas in your time, I think you needed to be inspired by your surroundings, other MCs, DJs, music. I don't know if today is the same thing, where there's a lot of sampling involved, where they take sounds, bites, lyrics, and they use them today, and they throw a beat under it and they call it their own. So, what's your perspective on that?
Well, I mean, I'll start with the music aspect of it. There's evolution, and there's the other direction. You know what I mean? And had hip hop evolved, you know what I mean, then everybody be all for it. But I think hip hop is going backwards. You know what I mean? And not the culture, because the culture remains the same, but the music in hip hop is going backwards, and a lot of it has to do with the thumb that the industry has on it, and the control that the industry has over artists and what kind of music gets heard and disseminated amongst the public. So it's a very different time when we were the only hip hop there was. Then now you have everybody and their grandmother giving you a version of what hip hop is. Okay, but like I said, the dynamics stay the same. The culture stays the same. It's still about the DJ, the MC, the B-boys and B-girls, and the graffiti artists all around the world. All right. Now with rap music, that's one component of the culture of hip hop. So when you ask me how I feel about hip hop, I feel the same way. Rap music needs an enema.
Photography. Being one of a handful of photographers back then, access, I could walk down the street, walk into pretty much anywhere and take pictures, okay? I didn't know that I'd be documenting history or that my images would travel all over the world. It took me a long time to go analog to digital. I've only been digital maybe the last 10, 11, 12 years, okay? I can't shoot today the way I shot yesterday. Only photographers today at these big music events, this, that, and the other, as cattle. They're hustled out for the first 2 or 3 songs of an act and hustled back off. And I, as a photographer of the culture of what I've been doing, I refuse to shoot that way. And if it wasn't for like people like Grandmaster Cash, Chuck D, KRS-One, who perform at these big venues and say, "That's Joe Conzo. If you don't know who he is, you better know he's allowed to shoot any way he wants to shoot." If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't shoot the Rock the Bell, series, all these big events. Because if I can't shoot the way I want to shoot, the way, not only the performance, the backstage, the interaction between artists and this, that, and the other, I won't shoot you. You won't be in my next book. You know what I mean?
Not to mention, everybody and their grandmother got a camera now.
True.
All right, so you're not just battling other photographers for space. You're battling everybody with a phone.
Pretty much shoved and pushed with people with iPhones and iPads. It's like, do you see this equipment I'm holding? Well, do you see my iPhone? I got the new one, the iPhone 6. You know what I mean? But again, it's been a blessing and it's been a curse. I still shoot, I don't want to label it the underground scene, but we have an event going on 12 years strong in the Bronx, the Tools of War Park Jams, that, people from all over the world come to see Kaz hosted and play, and Flash and Bambaataa, all the pioneers come and play, and those are the events that I shoot. I'll shoot the up and coming, MCs and DJs, because that might be the next Grandmaster Kaz 20 years from now. You know what I mean? So, I still shoot a lot, but it's a different time.
This lady over here?
Follow up, next one.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
I have a question for Joe, a couple of questions, actually. Outside of hip-hop, do you have an interest in photography? Do you, shoot pictures of other things outside the genre of hip-hop? And also, did you bring my book?
First question. I shoot a lot today. I carry a camera with me everywhere I go. If it's not hip hop, if it's not music orientated, I'm shooting demonstrations. I'm shooting pretty much everywhere. There's not a day that I don't go and take a picture. So I stay true to my form of photography as a documentator. I document my surroundings. I documented this trip today. My first time in Cleveland, Ohio. My first time at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. It's been documented. It's going to be,
It's on
my
Instagram.
blog. It's already on Instagram. And, I have a blog, joeconzo.com. It's going to be there. And I've just been taught by my family, the onus is on us to document our culture. Because if we don't document our culture, our surroundings, somebody else will. And they always get it wrong. And to your second question, no, I don't have your book because the first 10,000 of these books, they're gone. Sold out. You can go on eBay and get it for a couple $100, but please don't spend that kind of money. I feel it's not worth it. We're doing a second version, 10th year anniversary. If you can hold out to then, please hold on. But thank you.
Okay, just have two more questions. Okay. This gentleman back here.
Good evening. My name is Danny. I just want to thank Kaz and Joe for coming to Cleveland this evening.
All right.
It's two parts. One for Kaz first. As a hip hop fan, I hear a lot of people they refer to hip hop as kind of a kid's genre of music. How do you feel about that? It seems like they think once you get a certain age, you're too old for hip hop. And I always argue and debate with people. I'm like, well, is Patti LaBelle too old to sing? What do you attribute that to?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with your assessment. I mean, the Rolling Stones are still on tour. Are you kidding me? These guys are 60 and 70 years old, and nobody's questioning how old they are. Okay? Hip-hop is the only genre of music where there's an old school. Okay? There's no old school rock and roll artists, all right? There's no old school classical artists, all right? Only hip-hop has an old school. And, we're still here and we're still viable. And not only that, we might not be here for the younger hip-hop audience, but our audience is still alive. Okay, the people who went to our parties and who came up in hip-hop just like us, they still around, they still want to hear us, they still want to be reminded of the time when it was us, when it was all about us. So they still need their hip-hop artists. So that's where we come into play, all right? Does Lil Wayne's audience want to hear us? Maybe not. You know what I mean? Does one of these new cats, Waka Flocka or one of them, do they want to hear the old school? Probably not. But there's an old school audience for old school artists.
Okay. One more question.
Okay, one more for Joe.
Sure.
On my I follow a lot of hip hop threads on Facebook and whatnot, and I got a trailer on my timeline this week for a documentary called Bronx 79.
Bronx 79.
I know you're involved. I'm not sure if Kaz is involved, but can you speak on that?
Yeah, I didn't get the memo.
He didn't get the memo or the email. If I remember correctly, that was shot a few years ago, but everybody wants to document the culture of hip hop. Okay, everybody wants to do it, and there's so many people trying to do it. There's, not to sidetrack your question, Netflix just signed for 16 episodes of a new series about hip hop in the Bronx coming out in 2016, and there's a whole big trending thing that if people like Kaz and myself and other pioneers are going to be consultants on this, or is it going to be another bourgeois Hollywood take on the culture in the South Bronx? Who knows? Okay. But, Bronx 79 is a documentary that's trying to get off the ground. And it was DJ Disco Wiz, his first DJ, who kind of like got me involved into it, Jeff Chang and stuff like that. And they're holding true to form. We're not going to be around forever. If you want to hear our story, get it now. Get it now while we're still here. Get it while Bam is still alive, while Herc is still alive, Flash is still alive, while, Whip, because we're leaving. I mean, we just buried a pioneer last week, MC Dada Rock from the Fantastic Five. At a young age of, 52? 52? So, this goes out to the masses. If you want to hear our story, get it now. Get it now. Don't wait until we're past and you can't hear it firsthand. So, we're involved. We've been involved in all these documentaries and stuff. And, hopefully the message will get out there. I'd like to see a hip-hop museum in the Bronx. I'd love to see that.
I'm working with an organization called Windows of Hip Hop. We're trying to build not a museum per se, but a learning institution through hip hop. We've created curriculums for early and middle school kids, up to high school kids to try to teach them through hip hop. And the first part of our lives is over. The second part is about giving back some of the things that we've gotten from this life. And hip hop wasn't for that. No telling where we'd be. So if that's our gift, that's what we have to give back. So it's about giving that back, whether it's the story, the knowledge, or just learning through it. You know what I mean? That's our job from here on out. That's what we try to do.
I'd love traveling and speaking. Hats off to John and everybody here for bringing us out here to hear our story firsthand. Hats off to Cornell University that brings us up there twice a year to speak at the university. Hats off to Cornell for bestowing on Africa Bambaataa a visiting professor Scott, the first of its kind. So we enjoy that, and it's kind of like our responsibility to do that. So, thank you.
Cool.
Let me get one of the mics.
That's right.
All right, take out your iPhones, take out everything. This is a rare treat that you're gonna have.
Two.
Bring Whip up here.
Come on, Whip. Come on, Whip. We don't perform in front of less people.
This is history.
How you work this thing? Make some noise for my brother Prince Whip a Whip.
See, I knew it. I've worked them things before.
Two.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
What we doing, Papa?
You know what we do.
Oh, man. I still remember.
All four. Ready?
Go for it.
1, 2, 3, 4. And then they started at the bottom at a drop of a dime. Young ladies, check out the rhyme. Well, it's a sure shot, more shot. Kaz and Whip are gonna rock the spot into the party people that's here today to listen to Kaz and Whip get paid. And as they say, to each his own. I know you all come and hear us rock the microphone, whatever race, style, custom or creed. Yes, indeed, we're guaranteed to fulfill your every want, desire, and needs of young ladies, indeed. So that's the way we harmonize. I said that's the way. He said that's the way. I said that's the way we harmonize. My rhymes is like dice when I throw my CeeLo. Worth more than a kilo. Whenever you feel low, drop in a tape of the Grandmaster Kaz and then call up a friend, play it again, volume on 10. Then sit back and listen, cause I'm dissing. Watch how I'm pissing on suckers who caught a taste of fame. I blame you throwing monkey wrenches in my game. I'm not having that. I got the family jewels, and now you fools wanna play with tools. My tool is a mic that I grip in my right hand. 24 karat gold and a mic stand always on my left like a Zulu spear. Tell me when you wanna go, then yo, I'm in there like Prego, and I hit the spot. I'm on like popcorn, and you know that you got to get with me. But that's an impossible task, cause your arms is too short to box with Kaz. TKO, lay low, I got the yayo. Have you singing Harry Belafonte songs like Dale, Dale,
Here cats come now, you wanna go home? Despite the rumors and hype by the media, rappers are greedier, and this is from me to you. Don't ever sleep on me, cause while you blow Z's, I'll be blowing up MCs. Cause I write rhymes with the skill of a surgeon. My rap is tight like a knight with a virgin. I'm like a gangster defending his turf. I'm not the circus, but I got the greatest show on earth. So whip a whip. You know my voice is sore. Why don't you get on the mic and rock once more?
Well, I speak to be heard. I serve words, not one but many, professionally put together. Now I see many that feel in their minds that you can stand in our rhyme. Well, now's the time, cause I feel it's a crime for you to hide from a real writer. Continue on to bite us. I'm talking to each and anyone that wants to try this. You'll try this. I'm not biased. I'm telling you now, I'm serving anyone. Male, female, young, old, anyone. I see you standing taking notes, analyzing my rhymes as I speak. Thank you. That's my treat. My sounds straight from the boogie down. You heard it right. Bronx Rican just putting it down. Scratch, produce, kicking beats, a real true friend. Zulu to the end, keep on with the trends. So learn some lessons so you'll never be less than. Keep talking loud, say something positive, show how you live, give, express, finesse, flex, prove to the rest of the world just how it is. And what you don't know how, have no fear. That's why we right here.
If anybody, you asked me earlier about my favorite, I think this might be my favorite, all right? Before rap was a game or hip-hop was a nation. Before Lauryn Hill began a miseducation. Before milk was chilling or PE brought the noise. Before Heavy D and the boys. Before the roof caught on fire. Before fresh was the word. Before Houdini and Friends and Roxanne's Revenge. Before the freaks came out at night. Before Say Ho. Before the Crash Crew was rocking on the radio. Before Whitney, Mariah and J-Lo and Janet. Before Bam and the Soul Sonic Force rocked the planet. Before these other breaks. Before Hard Times. Before the Sugar Hill Gang, before super rhymes, before Reaganomics, before rappers got shot in their stomachs, before you found hip-hop in comics, before G's, before weed was trees, before going raw dog gave you a deadly disease, before haters, before thugs and perpetrators, before the alphas and before the betas, before beepers and cell phones and retro gods and FedEx and food stamps and Metro cards, before cops was 5-0 or Gats was answers, before all the b-boys turned into break dancers, before legs was crazy or outturned to Swayze, back when whip set is hot, humid and hazy, before all the bull and by no means get it twisted. My name is hip hop and I have always existed in this physical form or in the essence of rhyme. I'm Grandmaster Kaz, people, greatest of all time.
Boy got class. Boy got class.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He lost your class.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Grandmaster Kaz. Grandmaster Kaz, Joe Conzo Jr. And Whip a Whip. Whip a Whip. Thank you so much.